Pioneers of Esports podcast. Get ready.
Well, we are recording already, so if we want to do the formal go, then it's up to, y'all. Like I said, I figured this is more of the Dorian show today, so...
Is this where I take my shirt off?
Do it.
Dorian show. Please don't take off your shirt. Well, today we have a special guest. He is Mike Iarossi, the winner of the 1994 Nintendo World Championships. Woo! I'm appropriately wearing the Super Mario Kart shirt in honor of the middle game there. So, hey, Mike, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great.
Indeed.
Always great to talk to my super awesome friend Dorian and other person Chris.
Hey.
So we, for the record, I haven't spoken to Mike in like God knows how long. It's been years, right, Mike?
Man, it has been maybe since yesterday.
Probably.
I think maybe since yesterday.
Yeah. So recently, Mike flew out to Retro City Fest in California. Had a little bit of a throwback tournament to the 1990 Nintendo World Championships. And the reason for that was because not only did Mike win 1994 as the final champion, the grand champion, the Nintendo World Champion, he also was a finalist back in 1990. So interesting little fact there, one of three people who was a finalist in both 90 and 94. So Tell us a little bit about that history. Like, talk to me about 90. What was that like for you?
So 90, okay, so you hear about, you get Nintendo Power back then, and start hearing about the tournament that's going around. They're going to arenas. So the first one I hear about is Jacob Javits up in New York. So I go, I forget who I went with. I think I went with a friend of mine. It might have been Rich. So we go up there, and it's great. I think that's where maybe I saw Final Fantasy for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
They had that on one of the displays. But, I mean, you were getting to see all these games that weren't released yet. So it was kind of like a mini E3 before there was one, but It was just for Nintendo stuff. Go up there, I play. I don't remember how I did in New York, but I was just happy to go and see what was there. And that was great. I believe that's where Robert Whiteman was, but I'm not even sure if I was there on the finals day. I'm a little bit blurry on what went on in New York on the first trip. But when I heard it was going to Jersey, which I think was a couple months later, I think it was maybe in September, immediately I wanted to go to that one. So I go there, and that one goes fairly well. I obviously make it to the finals on Sunday. I met Jason Orlando there. He had this crazy Final Fantasy jacket. Thought he was amazing at Tetris, and showed him that other people are also really amazing at Tetris, probably more amazing than you. But that's fine. So we get to finals day in New Jersey. Okay, it's on Sunday, and I do great. They do top 7, and then it just comes down to the top 2. I think I was second on stage, and I had a terrible game. Terrible. I mean, my Tetris looks, like a jigsaw puzzle with pieces missing everywhere. And I only scored maybe 800,000 in the finals, but the other person did worse than me, barely, and I squeaked out the win. So, we do that, and then, I sit there and get some pictures with, like, David. I don't remember who the other kid was that won in the lower age group, but me and David Lopez became friends after that.
Jared Cohen.
Phone numbers. Okay. I don't even remember the name, but I didn't know very many people in the lower age group. I think Jeff Hansen stands out, and 29 other names.
Right.
But me and David, man, we had a great relationship for a long time. It's how I met Dorian, through David. They lived in the same building. So me and him were like Tetris buddies. We went back and forth with high scores for a long time. Okay, so I mean, we go to the finals in California, and that's an experience because that was like the first time I had flown, maybe since I was like 7. Okay, I think I'm 19 Yeah, I'm 19 when we do 1990. So it was an interesting experience going out there. The only people I really knew were I knew Jason. He was there with, I want to say it was his mom came with him instead of his dad. And then I knew David. So we kind of hung out, and man, I was super arrogant that entire weekend. I was full on me that entire weekend. But you know what? 19-year-old me, way worse than 48-year-old me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I agree.
But you know what? Everything we did that weekend, like they did press on Saturday, where they had all the practice stations and they would put everybody on there, and then the press would come by and they would ask a bunch of people questions. Well, throughout all of practice, I had top scores. So I was easily outscoring the competition in the 18 and over. And then when it comes to the finals, I end up placing first out of 7, or first out of 30. So I go on stage in the first position, which was all the way on the right side of the stage. So if you see pictures of the stage, the weird thing is you're not going to see me because the way they had the TVs on stage, they were down on the stage on an angle. And I didn't like that. I didn't like standing, and I didn't like that I was going to be that far away from the TV. I'm used to playing close up. And I really didn't want the audience in my view anyway, because that's a distraction. So I kneeled down. I literally asked them, I'm like, can I kneel down here and play? And they were like, sure. So I'm sitting there, I'm playing. They put a guy with a camera like right here. Or they didn't really put him there. He just decided, I'm going to be here. And literally the camera is in my peripheral.
Wow.
And I'm like, dude, back off. Guy on stage. Now, this is further into my game, okay? So I'm already flustered by what's going on. I'll get to that in a minute. But literally the announcer is like, can the cameraman please back away from the players? You know?
Nice.
He can see that it's like, dude, you are a little close. So get to the end of Mario. I kill both Goombas. I have to clear the board, go into the understage. Oh, just horrible. By the time I just get into that, my mind is shot. Rad Racer's a different pattern. So I think I crashed 4 times. By the time I got into Tetris, my mind was gone. I think I lined out with like 3 seconds left. I only scored, God, I don't even remember, 300,000, 400,000. It's horrible.
Wow.
So obviously I go off stage. I had a terrible experience backstage. I'm just incredibly upset. So that's how that went for 10 minutes, and then I came back out and that was fun. Bob goes on and wins, which was great. Maybe not great for me at the time, but you know what? In the end, he earned it. You know, I blew it. That was it.
So you named a few people in there. Let's go back and just kind of, because there were a lot of notables in there. You mentioned a few people that. So Bob, for example, Bob was famous because he is the Nintendo World Championships from 1990 champion, and he was the 18 and up group, right? Okay.
He actually lived in Jersey.
That's what I was going to say. How did you know him exactly?
Yeah, I knew Bob because we both went to Fun and Games in Wayne.
And Fun and Games was the arcade out there, right?
That's right. Fun and Games in Wayne. We lived there for most of the early 90s, right?
Were the two of you competitive back then? Did you know each other on that level?
No, he would. I didn't really know him until the Nintendo thing in New York and New Jersey. And that's when we started to really, not really, but after that, before the finals, I would go up to his house and we would talk Tetris, and he would sit there. He played a lot of Tetris in the arcade in Wayne. And I know he played some Street Fighter 2, but I don't know him from that, I don't think he was one of the regulars there. He showed up every once in a while, but he just wasn't one of the regulars. And it was just really cool. Things kind of soured a little bit after that for whatever reason. I'm sure it was because he won and I was a dick and he was a dick. Yeah. So we were both 19 and it was like fuck you, and oh, okay. I don't need to deal with you anymore.
All right, so that was Bob. What about Dave Lopez? You mentioned was my childhood friend, obviously the guy who introduced the two of us. So I've known you since about 1991-ish, I would say.
1991. It was right around the time the SNES came out.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, because I remember we were doing speed runs back then on Super Mario World. So yeah, it would have been right when the SNES was released.
Yeah, I don't think it was before the finals. So it was probably in 91.
It was, yeah, it was definitely not before.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And then David, he has a little bit of a name for himself too, because he's the other of the three, I guess you could say another one of the three that was a finalist in both 1990 and 1994. So Mike and Dave were both in a very small elite group of people that were actually finalists in both years.
Yeah. Still annoys me that I didn't get the Chris Bidwell slot in Chicago.
The 2015. He was almost the only one to be in all three at the time.
That.
And then you would have had to go for 17, because if you hadn't gotten
17, I would have. If I would have made the finals there, I would have actually played Mario Kart, even though I thought that was just a terrible, terrible tournament.
So we'll get to that for sure. We're going to talk a little bit about 2015.
So back on 90 for a minute. Some things that maybe some people don't know. So when we're in the dinner, this was like Saturday night before the finals. They had a big dinner. Everybody's there. So they had told us we were not going to get the carts. The parents had been hounding Nintendo that, is there a chance that we can get the cart? That's what we really want. Nintendo said no. Pretty flatly. Well, the parents hounded them a lot. And during this dinner, they actually came out and said, you know what? We decided we are going to give everyone a cart. You're not going to get it now. You'll get it at some point down the line. We'll mail a cart to everybody and, consider that a little bit extra from us.
Wow.
And, I mean, the legacy that came from that, I mean, those parents are the superheroes.
Yes.
Of
fucking
those carts exist. Otherwise, the only carts you would have ever seen are the gold ones.
Mm-hmm.
There would have been no other white carts. So, I would love to know which parents it was that actually made the difference there. I know it was a few of them that were hounding them, but yeah, I remember that dinner. You don't hear about that very often.
They didn't take no for an answer. That's great.
Right. I honestly think that the collector landscape exists because of those carts. I think that was the first cart that made people say, hey, you know what? I want to collect rare Nintendo games. Mm-hmm. And that's what put people on that path. So we have them to thank for a lot of hobbyists that are out here today keeping the Nintendo brand alive. Well, the brand is fine. Keeping the old Nintendo brand alive. All right. So then... So that was your experience with 1990.
So that was 1990. Not much came from 90. I did do one thing press-wise for 1990. I got a call from MTV. They wanted to do some show. So they were trying to bring in finalists from the area. And I was one of the ones that got called. So I went in there. My dad took me up to New York. We went to, whatever building MTV was in. And... Howard.
Mm-hmm. Howard Phillips.
Howard Phillips was there. And, they just want you to go in and talk about Nintendo in general while you're playing something. They think they had Tetris set up and they had Super Mario Brothers set up. And they were just going to do a bunch of... They were going to ask a bunch of questions and then edit it into whatever they were doing on TV. But it was really cool to get to meet Howard. I think that was the first time I met Howard.
Oh, weird. You didn't meet him at the finals.
I didn't. I didn't see him at the finals. Maybe he was there. You don't remember.
Thor always talks about how
I met him there.
Yeah, meeting him
was
there.
Really cool. Yeah, I might not have seen him, but Thor ended up winning, and that perspective is a little bit different.
Just a bit.
We'll get to that with the '94 one. But he was really cool, and then he's like, I think I could beat Super Mario within 6 minutes. I want to say they had one of the carts there, right? And we were playing on that, and he wanted to try and beat Super Mario Brothers within the 621. He couldn't do it. He wasn't nearly as good as he thought he was. But it was really cool getting to meet Howard. And getting to sit there and chat with them for a while. It ended up being like this 30-second segment on something that Nintendo did, some half-hour program I can't remember the name of. And yeah.
You found it?
That was about it. I have not. I couldn't tell you what it was to this day.
Interesting. I wonder if there's a way to get our hands on that to kind of memorialize it and whatnot.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't remember who the other finalists were that they had there either. It was, I know it was just people from that area, and I know Robert wasn't one of them. So.
What about David? Did he make it out there?
David wasn't one.
Interesting.
I didn't think so, because I've never heard that story. That's interesting. Nope. Huh. All right. So, how was your experience with 90? Go ahead.
Kind of generalized. What type of gamer were you? Because Nintendo was kind of aimed at kids back at the day, and having adults play. A lot of the adults were more into the Atari stuff, and they kind of dropped out.
Well, I mean, for me, I kind of just played mainly Nintendo stuff back then. I hadn't really started my PC phase at that point, but not in 1990. That came a little bit later. So it was mainly just Nintendo. I didn't have Genesis, and I didn't have the Master System. So I was, I started out on the Atari back in, early 80s. I think I played a little bit of, I don't think it was the Vectrex. I think it was something else that I can't remember. The one that had the on-screen overlays.
Yeah, it was the Vectrex.
Is it the Vectrex?
Yeah.
So I remember that was maybe the first thing I ever played video game-wise. And then it was the Atari. After the Atari, I didn't have it in television, but I played it. A friend of mine had it. And then the ColecoVision, and then Nintendo.
Which had the Coleco not crashed and burned with the atom, that could have been the Nintendo of its day, because they had that relationship. It's such a great system because back then you're just trying to get like a good version of a port, right? Right.
And
arcade.
I don't know how many of you remember, but Atari was trying to do ports, and when they did Pac-Man, it was just the worst Pac-Man ever.
Yep.
Right. It was wafers. It wasn't even dots.
Video wafers.
Yes. So I mean, people just wanted accurate versions of arcade games, and Coleco did Donkey Kong really well.
That's right. That's what got me into it.
Baseball on the ColecoVision was great. ColecoVision had a few good games. I really like that system. Smurfs
was fantastic.
It is
not a lot of people make fun of me for that, but that means that they weren't old enough to remember it. So
it looked like the damn cartoon. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Man, I would go into, I don't even know what you call it, like a thrift store or whatever. And when the crash happened, man, you'd pick up games for $1.
Oh, yeah.
There would just be a huge bin of games, and it'd just be like, these are all $1.
I remember that.
I want all of these.
Right.
Yes. I don't have any of this.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of kids thought it was a fad. Grown-ups thought it was a fad, but for us kids back then, we didn't want to stop playing. I bought all those damn games for $1 in the bins, and when Nintendo came out, it's like, hey, video games are back, let's go. But there were a lot of kids, maybe slightly older than you, that kind of dropped out, and that's what I'm trying to. It's interesting that the 18 and over group was won by 19-year-olds, so that kind of shows that there wasn't a lot of adult interest back then in Nintendo. It was seen as a kiddie thing.
That's not entirely true, because while there were, a lot of us that were in that 18 to 21 range, there were parents in that 30, that were old enough to be my parents at the time.
Anybody good?
40 years old, like Tim Ross and Tim and Cassandra Ross, right?
Yeah, even in '94, you had a lot of parents.
Oh, interesting.
There were some good players back then. It's interesting. We're talking about like when we went to the NES. As much as I was a gamer, when the NES came out, I didn't have a lot of games because during that time period, I was going out a lot and doing stupid shit. So I had like Super Mario Brothers, I had Gyromite, and I had Kung Fu. Those were my 3 NES games for like a year. I was super good at Kung Fu.
Kung Fu is great.
Let me tell you. I was great at Kung Fu. I could do like 16 playthroughs of Kung Fu.
Wow.
And the only guy that would even be a challenge is the one you got to knock his head off.
The magician.
The wizard on the on the fourth stage.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right? Everything else was a joke. But man, I played a lot of Kung Fu. But then the first game that I really opened up gaming to me again was Zelda. Right?
Yes.
When the Legend of Zelda came on the NES. Man, that was different than everything else that came before it. I mean, you could think back to like maybe on the Atari when you had like the Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm.
That was really cool.
Pitfall too.
But when you get into Zelda and you see like the level of complexity there that you really hadn't seen in a video game before, even, you know, the arcades were just quarter munchers,
right?
You know, but Zelda was the first one that's like, we're telling a story and you're going through this game and there's dungeons and all that. That's like,
and it was obtuse.
This is fucking amazing.
How was your playthrough with that?
And then you beat it, and it's like, oh, there's a second playthrough, and everything is different. Fucking mind blown. That's it. My mind is blown.
Mine was too.
Were you? Did you use a lot of magazines or Nintendo Player's Guide? What did you have any hints at all? Because I'm trying to imagine playing through that completely blind. I don't think very many people, even today, could do that, even when they know all the tropes.
I know that I had Nintendo Power.
Right.
I can't tell you that I was using it in order to play. I've been a purist for a really long time when it comes to that. I love playing blind. Okay, right. I can tell you stories about, like, Dorian will remember my Double Dungeons maps. Mm-hmm. Okay,
he made his own.
I made my own. I loved Double Dungeons to death on the TurboGrafx. It's literally the only reason I bought the system was so I could play that game. And the final stage had a giant map, took up like 9 pieces of graph paper, and I mapped out that entire map. I love that game, but that's me. I'd sit there and I like to just figure things out for myself.
Right.
And I will bang my head up against the wall trying to do that just to be able to say that I did it. Because the thing about playing a game is, if you're stuck at something, if it's a puzzle, once you solve that puzzle, that's it. That puzzle is dead to you.
Right.
You know, it might take 20 years for you to forget how that puzzle was done or something.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just look it up and you get the answer, you miss out on that whole thing.
That's right.
That's the gaming experience right there, is sitting there and figuring that out for yourself and, you know, earning your way past it.
Finding level 7 was legendary for a lot of people. Like figuring out that you use the flute in a lake to dry up the lake to find that dungeon. That is so obtuse to a 10-year-old in 1987. There's nothing like that before. Nowadays, everybody knows, use every item, talk to every person. Like, you know, if you can't figure it out, just bullhead your way through and force a solution no matter what. But back then, you didn't think like that. You everything up to that point had been, oh, well, here's a cave, go in the cave. Like, bombing things might have made a little bit of sense. But then, so you just blowing a whistle, what? And then...
Or just walking north 5 times, like, to get to 5.
The woods, right?
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's the type of thing. To this day, I look back in that, because Mike and I had that in common. We absolutely refused to ever read guides, and you might not remember it as strongly as I do, but I remember we had a dead stance against absolutely not reading any guides or anything of the sort.
It was very rare that something would come in the way of that, and I can tell you one that I know Dorian will remember.
And I already know which one you're going to say.
Chrono Trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Chrono Trigger. Oh, my God. So back in the early 90s on the SNES, I bought Japanese games a lot. It's like, a lot of times we wouldn't even get games here. Like Final Fantasy V never came here. So when 6 came out in Japan, I went and I bought it, right? Chrono Trigger came out in Japan, I went and I bought it. And, I mean, those carts weren't cheap. You'd go up to New York and you'd pay $120, $170 to get carts when they were new.
They weren't cheap here either.
So, right. So we get Chrono Trigger, and me and my friend John are playing through it. And we get to this point in Chrono Trigger where there's literally like 4 or 5 boards. That's all you have to explore. It's one of the time areas, and you can't leave. But because we can't read what's going on the screen, because this is Japanese, we have no idea what they're telling us to do. We literally talk to everyone 100 times, no idea what to do. Okay, and we're just like, okay, that's it. We're stumped. We have no clue what's going on or what to do. And we had to put it down. And I told my friend, I'm like, look, he had like Prodigy or something, and he would go on there and look in the forums trying to find the answer. It's like 2 weeks later, he comes to us and he's like, I found the answer. Great, what is it? He's like, okay, so you have to go in this room where there's just this one guy standing by himself. You talk to him, and then you have to run around the room 3 times and then talk to him again. And I'm like, that's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. This is literally put here to stop people from playing that don't know Japanese. This is the only reason this could possibly exist.
Yeah.
That's it. And then the same thing happened with Final Fantasy VI. Final Fantasy VI, there's a point where you have to go, like the world is collapsing and you have to go up to the island. Well, when you have to go up to the island, do you remember what you have to do?
To wait for Shadow?
Yeah.
I'm going to say I purposely have not played this game in 25 years because I'm trying to forget everything about it.
Okay. You're going to know this one thing because it'll literally tell you on the screen. And it'll be in English.
Okay,
Japanese.
Good. Then in that case, spoil it away.
You have to bring 3 people in your party.
Oh, that's right, because they have to add the extra people in.
Because you have to have room for Shadow.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I can't read that, so I keep filling my party. And then it just, go fly around.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I didn't beat Final Fantasy VI until it came out in English. And when I got to that point, I'm like, God damn it. That's all I had to do was put 3 people in the party.
Yeah.
That's
I don't remember that, but I'm sure.
Like
yeah.
But
I'm sure that was one that we would
type of stuff. But I mean, those are exceptions, right? It's not. I mean, you're not breaking the rule because it's literally like I have no idea what to do, and I can't read what's on the screen that's telling me what to do. So.
And you see this today because I remember you were posting about playing through Dragon Quest XI, the Japanese version.
Yeah.
So that's really commendable. So you don't know Japanese, you just play it. You just grind nose and go. So wow.
I couldn't do the side quests in 11 in Japanese because I couldn't read what they were telling me to do. And those side quests, some of them are a little specific.
Right.
Yeah.
So without knowing what they were, I couldn't do that. So those were really the only thing in the Japanese 11 I didn't do. I still got the best ending. Killed, super boss. But, I never did that. And then I played it again in English.
Yeah, I haven't played it again yet. I got the DS version. Mike got the PS4 version. Now I'm waiting for the Switch version to play it in English. So I haven't played it in
16-bit mode yet.
So I have not gotten to do the side stuff. I haven't really gotten to play the game yet. So I'm excited to kind of get my hands on the definitive edition, which we get the best version now, which is awesome.
They're putting the 2D version in it.
They're putting the 2D version in it. They're giving you the orchestrated music. I'm really excited for that game. I'm also a huge Quest fan. I know. I didn't expect you to.
I've done it twice. I'm good.
I am a huge Dragon Quest fan. So, of course, for me, that's like the world. So I'm excited. Yeah. So, let's talk a little bit about that phase there because I want to say you were probably not in your PC phase yet by the time of the Nintendo World Championships, 1994. Is that correct?
I was in some of it. I was in it somewhat because I started my PC phase. If you remember when I had my own place there for a while in Jersey, and we would have like the whole arcade over there. Mm-hmm. That was kind of when I started my PC phase. So I was doing like the Might and Magics there and things like that. But I mean, consoles were still the main focus. Mm-hmm. Street Fighter was the biggest thing back then, right? I had the controllers. That was kind of it. It was fighting games, and it was just competitive with Street Fighter. That was probably 3 years of us doing that.
Absolutely. Until
it was actually more than that because we started Street Fighter 2 back in 91.
91.
Yeah. And then that went up until probably 96.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, that's around the time that Alpha 3 and Street Fighter 3 were coming out. And that was kind of the end of it for me. I bowed out of the whole scene at that point. That's what that was.
Yeah, we used to go around quite a bit, like finding different arcades, finding different machines to play on and whatnot. At one point, I had some friends come in from New York to play my kid, the pizzeria by my house in Union City, and so it was a lot of fun back then. So Street Fighter was obviously for most gamers, especially for competitive gamers, that was the pinnacle of gaming during that time period. But we always found time to compete in other stuff too.
There's the arcade resurgence, because arcades, I mean, maybe people don't remember, but arcades were dying in the late 80s.
Yep.
Consoles were coming around. It was kind of the same thing. It was just quarter munchers, so there wasn't a lot of draw. Nobody wanted to go to the arcades and play, the next Space Invaders anymore. So it was getting dull, and then Street Fighter came around, and man, the arcades were mobbed.
Yeah.
They were literally mobbed. You couldn't get enough Street Fighter machines to please the demand that was out there. And then Mortal Kombat,
right?
50,000 clones that came out after that.
Time killers, yay!
Right.
Tattoo assassins.
All the horrible SNK fighters.
Oh, the unlimited number of SNK fighters.
Oh
yes.
Man, Samurai Showdown 67.
Hey, I liked Samurai. Sam Show is one of the few that they get credit for in my book.
Heroes.
Yeah, well, there's that, I guess. I wouldn't call that I wouldn't call those two very impressive back then. But I did like Samurai Showdown. That was one that I thought
They were fun times, though. That was a lot of fun times, and you met. I mean, that literally, you meet friends for life through Street Fighter. It's a scene that is a lot different today because with the advent of the internet now, I mean, everybody's a jackass, right? Couldn't do that in person. You're jackass in person, you get your ass beat.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to say the shit that people say on the internet when you're standing next to them. Mm-hmm. So it's just it's a different scene today. You still make great friends on the internet. It just happens in a different way,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in some areas, I mean, there's still a fighting game scene where you can still kind of make it to the arcade and hit local tournaments. And I happen to be lucky enough to be in Azusa where Super Arcade is at. So, I still get to check out some of the live events, but it's nothing like it used to be, obviously.
It's not. It's much smaller scale.
Yeah. But with that, I will also say that you still found the time to compete in different racing games and time attack modes and all types of stuff like that. What were some of your favorite games during that time period outside of the fighting games?
So I didn't do a lot of the time stuff on like the NES. The NES was more of a platformer system. There weren't, I mean, aside from Tetris, there weren't many really competitive games there. But then you moved to the SNES and launch game, F-Zero. Man, I was all over F-Zero. Because it's such a simplistic racer, It's just try and get the fast start, and then you get your one turbo per thing. There's no jumping. There's no weird controls or anything. It's just pure racing. So I was all over that, and I played the hell out of it. And then that's when we met, right? Mm-hmm. And I go over to Dorion's house, and it's like, oh, man, I play F-Zero. He's like, oh, yeah, I play F-Zero too. Yeah, let's see your times. And I'll throw a time on his cart. And be like, how'd you do that? And I'm like, well, I mean, I play this a lot more than you do. Yeah. And then, that was our start. The start of our relationship right there is like, this guy's a god at F-Zero. I need to beat him.
Right.
And then he would beat my time. He'd call me up and say, yeah, I beat your time. That's my old time.
Oh, that old time?
I got that beat by like 5 seconds now. Yeah. So, I mean, that was it. That was the start of me and Dorion's competitive 30-year friendship. Yeah. So, yeah,
and the funny thing was, I was always semi-competitive growing up. Like I was always like, oh, I want to put my name up on this machine. I want to do this, but I never had any good competition. Like that just wasn't a thing until 1990, because David Lopez was by far the best of us at Tetris. He played that game faithfully. I can remember our best friend's mother would be mesmerized watching him drop pieces in Tetris. I didn't really play it, and so for me it was like, okay, he's much better than me at that game. Other than that, though, I was usually like really good at the platformers and stuff like that. It wasn't until I met Mike and we started playing time attack games like F-Zero that kind of made me go, okay, there's a whole nother world to this. Then Street Fighter happened, and then boom, it was just, that's it. I'm in the competitive scene for life.
Remember, we were really competitive with Super Mario World.
Mm-hmm. That was one of my favorite stories with you.
Yeah, we would do full Super Mario World runs against each other. We'd start at the same time, and then it was collect every star, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was I don't know, 100
something stars, yeah.
96 gates.
Whatever it was.
Yep.
Was it 96?
96 gates,
yeah,
yep.
We would do it. It would be like get all 96 first one. And it would take like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Right, 2 hours. And we went back and forth on that a lot. Dorian beat me most of the time. And I remember this one time I get to Bowser first, and it's like, yeah, I'm at Bowser. He's like, damn it, I just got to the castle, and I died.
Yeah, he's on the final fight. I'm running into the room. I'm like, God, he's going to freaking beat me. And then we get there, and then all of a sudden I just hear Mike start screaming obscenities. Just like absolutely screaming. I'm like, oh, what's wrong, Mike? Did you die? Oh, because I just started the fight. Looks like I won. It was good times. I mean, you have to think of it. This was back in 91.
Mm-hmm.
So we're sitting on landlines, like with just sitting there with it on speakerphone playing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was thinking you're in the same room. You're doing this over the phone. Wow.
We're over the phone.
Yep. If you don't have that competitive thing, you're like me. You're just, I beat the game. I'm kind of done with it. I'm not trying to shave tenths of seconds off my F-Zero time. I beat the damn game. Who cares?
Man. I put so much time into F-Zero.
Yep.
It's just great. And then Wave Race later on, same thing. I had a Wave Race website for a while that I would literally just keep track of times. People would submit times. I'd update the site.
GeoCities.
It was so much fun. Yep.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
So, I mean, then 94.
Yeah. So that leads us up to 94 and brings us into 94. So at that point, I remember you telling me that there was going to be another Nintendo World Championships. I hadn't heard about it before that. And
quickly, how did you find out about this? Because we were discussing this with Robin the other day.
That's a good point. That's true.
We don't remember Nintendo Power ever covering
maybe it was in a magazine. I mean, I would have all the magazines on day one. We were doing Game Pro, we were doing EGM, we were doing Nintendo Power. I was up at the mall all the time over at the arcade. And that was still, this is a daily thing. We'd be at the arcade till they closed at, 1 or 2 in the morning. So as soon as those magazines hit the stand, we knew about it. So I'd have to say that that's probably where I heard about it. Back then, there really wasn't any other way.
Right.
It's either you found out from the magazine that internet just wasn't what it is today. So, we probably heard about it from a magazine or something. Nintendo Power, Game Pro, something like that.
I'm going to have to dig into those magazines to try to find it out.
Find it,
yeah.
I'm with you on that.
It would be, like April or June. April or May, right? Because it was fairly early in the year when we got started. I want to say it was May or June when we did Jersey.
I want to say that Wayne, New Jersey, we could probably look up the dates. It wouldn't surprise me if somebody recorded the dates for the tournaments. But regardless, I want to say it was in May because I was still in school at the time. I remember that for sure because I skipped school to make sure that I went to the first one in Wayne.
Priorities.
Yeah. We went to that one in Jersey, and it was 3 of us. And it's just weird because it's in like this little nothing store. It was like a Radio Shack, It was a tiny store. It wasn't even a big Walmart or anything like the other ones are at. It was just this tiny little hole in the wall store, and it was just a little setup when you walked in the door. Mm-hmm. And so they're doing. It was like the same thing from '90, where you come in on a Friday and Saturday and you qualify, and then on Sunday they're doing a final. So they're keeping track of scores. And that
was board like anywhere, like a board or like a.
It was a whiteboard.
Whiteboard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they were taking the top 10 scores. The idea was they were going to take a top 8, but they took top 10 in case somebody didn't show up. So, Mike, why don't you tell them a little bit about that top 10? What you remember of who was in the top 10?
So we get there on Sunday, and somebody no-shows. So they have to take one of the alternates, and one of the alternates is there. And it's this little kid, James Sorge. I only remember his name for reasons we will get into. Mm-hmm. But this kid, he's like 10. He's like 9 or 10 years old. And by now, I'm 23. I'm 23. And this kid ends up playing me in the finals. You know, I go through everybody else, and it's me versus him, and he ends up winning. Now, I'm not really upset because by the time we get to that point, we've all decided as a group, it's like, we're doing more of these.
Oh yeah.
It's like we have a list of dates that they're going to, and it's like Hershey, Pennsylvania, or I'm sorry, Reading, Pennsylvania.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to that in like 2-3 weeks or whatever it is. You know, yeah, we're there, and we're looking. It's like, yeah, we can do this Ohio, we can do that. Bam, we are all set. So, you know, congratulations to this, you know, kid that beat me, whatever.
And I have to say, Mike is never gracious in loss, okay? Mike is usually the biggest prick I've ever known, and he was nice to this kid. He was like, hey, man, congratulations.
It's, again, we knew we were going to more, and, yeah. It didn't bother me nearly as much. In 1990, it's different, you know? Super, super arrogant, but I guess those 4 years made a difference, you know? I was arrogant to a less extent, but yeah, I didn't mind losing there. And then we go to the next tournament. The guy who ran it was great. You know, I can't remember his name to this day, but the guy who ran the tournament was great. And since we were going to so many of these, we go to the next one. It's the same guy is running the tournament, and literally walk up. Go ahead, Dorian.
Sure. The first thing that the guy says is, so keep in mind, not only is he the same guy who's running the tournament, he's also training somebody to be able to go to other locations to be able to run the show as well. So the idea is he's basically training this new guy. Mike walks up with me and whoever else was there, probably Jason Orlando, and the host. Base, that's right. Base was there, yes. And so then the minute we walk up, the main guy who's running the tournament grabs the new guy who he's teaching and says, "Oh, hey, this is Mike Iarossi. He's going to be your winner for the weekend." Like this is what actually happened. I was there to see it happen. And keep in mind, this actually stems from the fact that the previous weekend, or 2 weekends before that, because there was 2 weeks between these two, Mike was expected to win. Everybody expected Mike to win. He was by far the favorite. He had the most consistent play, and the kid who beat him, James Sorge, made sure to rub that in his face. He's like, "Oh, you're supposed to be the best, and I beat you." And he's like going on and on.
He's a 10-year-old kid.
10-year-old kid screaming at him like, "Ha ha, I beat you," and so on and so forth. So yeah, we're at the new one, and we're at the next one in Reading, and he introduces Mike to the new guy who's training, and he's like, "This is Mike Iarossi. He's going to be your winner for the weekend." So go on.
It's just hilarious how that happens, right? And then we go on and we play. It comes down to the finals, and now it's me versus Jason. And I go on stage. Now, my thing is I want to get in people's heads, you know? So I go on stage and I put in Super JJ as my name on the screen, which is Jason's name. So he looks at me and he's like, "Why are you putting in my name?" It's just I don't even think I responded to him. I'm like, nope. What? But of course, I'm not going to say, "Well, I'm trying to get in your head."
Right.
You know? But that's obviously the reason. So I do that. It's just a name. It doesn't matter. You never see it again. So we're playing. We go through the first 2 games, which are nothing. It's Super Mario All-Stars, Super Mario Kart. You go through those, you get to Griffey. It's all about home runs. So I start bashing out home runs. And people see I'm doing well. They start cheering. Jason is getting no cheers. So Jason hits a pop-up and is now getting very flustered because he realizes he's losing. So now he's yelling at the crowd. "How come nobody's cheering for me?" "Because you suck."
He actually said that to him directly on stage.
Wow.
Right. So
he was in his head. He owned him. Like that was it.
It was. He hit another pop-up. I'm like, "Oh man, that's going to waste like 10 seconds." And this was me on stage, and I just destroyed him on there. He never plays second again.
keep in mind that we know that we're going to multiple weekends at this point, right? So Mike messing with him, it's not the end of the world. Yeah, we're all friends and everything else, but ultimately it didn't matter because we knew that the next weekend he had another chance to win. And
how many of you are there in this group?
So at this point, there are only 3 of us that we're expecting to actually place. It's
4.
Who was the 4th?
Base.
Yeah, but we weren't expecting Base to win. I'm saying of the people that
I thought he could have, because literally it wasn't a tough thing to win, right?
That's true.
If Base would have went to enough, he could have won.
That's true. Because I was looking at it as we were expecting certain people to absolutely win, and we thought that Base was coming. At least this is my my remembrance is that he was kind of coming for fun, whatever else. Jason Orlando was serious. Jason Provost was serious, or Brig, whatever his name is now. Rick was serious. John was serious. I was serious. So and David was obviously serious.
I was gonna say,
we were the ones. Okay. Yeah. Almost forgot Dave. No, but Dave didn't start coming
won 1 week, right?
He went. Yeah, the first one that he went to, he won. Yeah. So week 1, we were like, this isn't that big a deal. Big deal. He beat Jason. Jason will get it back next week. Unfortunately, Jason never actually ended up qualifying, and I think he went to about 10 to 15. And never actually ended up making it. So we can look back and feel bad that Mike got in his head and destroyed his only chance to win. But
it was the only time he placed second. He never made it to second again. We tried to rig it so that he would win at some of them, and still couldn't make it happen. At the end of the day, you still have to play and you still have to win.
I'll go back to Robin's interview where he was looking up people who quote unquote choke and how it's not a defect per se. I need to read into this too, but he did have some sympathy for people who don't, and even you were talking about choking when at 90. So I mean, everybody's been there. So I have my sympathies. Yeah. We've all been there. So sorry.
Yeah, and it sucked. I felt bad for him because he was there, like every week. But you know what? That's just how it goes. And however fortunate or unfortunate, Dorion won the 3rd week. Yeah. Right? We went to Cincinnati, and it's funny to show up there. It's a Walmart. We got there, I don't know, 1 a.m. on Friday night, and we get there, and there's like some super stupid score on the board, and we're looking at it, and it's like,
forget that. We're like,
what is that? How did somebody get that score? That's fake. That's a fake score.
Seriously, Chris, like this score, what was it, 1.5 or something? Like,
it was like 1.6.
It was even higher. It was 1.6.
It was a crazy score.
That's like 100 home runs in Griffey because it's 10,000.
It's like 24. It's like 24 home runs.
It was 24. It was 25 home runs. I did math on it later. It was 25 home runs, which is absolutely insane in that game.
It's possible,
there,
right?
We're playing.
Mm-hmm. It's possible.
We're playing the whole weekend. Now, again, 3rd week, I think it's the same guy again. Or maybe the guy he trained. I don't remember.
It was the guy that he trained.
But we knew it. We knew them. So, literally, they trust us. I'm already a winner. The guy would go to lunch, and he's like, you guys handle this for a while? Yeah, we got it. We would run the tournament while he went to lunch. It's like, to take the cart and go.
Right.
But I mean, you got to play so much on the cart. It's like you could just sit there and play because a lot of times there weren't like lines waiting. It's a Walmart,
right? And how much was this publicized? There wasn't like 90. There wasn't
right.
It was. They were like in 15. They were recruiting people in the store to play.
Cincinnati actually had some. So Mike won week 2. I won week 3. I still say that Cincinnati had some of the biggest competition there because the Witless box were there. Yeah, I mean but the funny thing was we're all scared to death of this guy that got 1.6 or whatever it was, 1 point, and then he comes in. I don't even think he broke 800,000. Like he
couldn't even play the first 2 games well.
We're like, how did you get that score?
Right. I'm like, it was your brother or something. You ain't the player.
Does it have the time dip switches? Did maybe screw that up?
No, he legitimately got the score. It's just a lucky game.
Yeah,
it was lucky.
It was a 1 in a million. I mean,
Yeah.
for me,
It's just weird.
It was a 1 in a million. He just got extremely lucky. He probably had no pop-ups. He probably had a lot of line drives, and he just happened to nail it. I mean, it was just.
Well,
I mean, he said that he was the one that played it. He said, "Yeah, I played it. I didn't even know I did well." I was like, "Okay."
Cincinnati
All
is Ken Griffey's hometown, so it makes sense.
right. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Not back then, it wasn't.
Yeah, he grew up there.
Oh, yeah, I know, but I'm saying he was still a Mariner at the time.
He was a Mariner, right? But that
Yeah.
was he was always their child.
A Cincinnati boy.
Yeah, his dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, Mike won the first week. Well, technically the second week. I won the third week. Who won after that? Now that's where my memory starts to fail me.
What was the fourth one we went to?
I think it was John Basson.
Was
I'll bet
it-
you.
I want to say the fourth one we went to was down south on the base.
Oh, right. Yes. So that was
I don't think any of us won that.
no one won that. That's correct. We
Yeah.
tried, and nobody won that one. And then John won Maryland. That was the first Type B tournament that we saw, and he had the high score for the weekend.
Army base memory. Sleeping in the van in the parking lot of the venue.
We
and
were poor.
Getting woken up by MPs.
Yeah, we didn't know you're not
hey.
allowed to sleep on a military base. We thought it's a Walmart parking lot. We can sleep here. And we were poor. We didn't have money to buy hotels or anything.
Yeah, Walmart's that's what they're famous for. You can park your RV there, right?
Yeah, well, not on a military
No,
base. as
apparently
it turns
not.
out. So it's probably 2:00 in the morning. We had just gotten in. We're going to, we're all asleep, and all of a sudden we're waking up to this, with military MPs with their flashlights flashing into the window, knocking nice and hard on that,
Right.
rapping the window.
Right.
Oh, it was a nightmare.
By this time, I mean, it's like 4 a.m. or something. I think we just ended up staying up and then
Yeah, we did.
going to the venue. Daylight was coming soon. So the other one I remember, it was another outdoor one. And what's her name was there?
Georgia?
Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I don't think we won there either.
I thought that was the one that John won. I'm pretty sure that
Is it?
if you watch the Clinton years in gaming, did a special on the Powerfest, and that was the one where we were all at because John is actually in that video. He does like the whole John was.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure they showed the board and he had the 1.6 there for the high score for the weekend.
So I know we did Virginia. I know we did. I think we did a North Carolina. I don't think it was a South Carolina. We did Maryland. I remember Boston.
Mm-hmm.
You remember?
Two.
You remember the
We
one
went
in
to
Boston?
two in Boston.
I
I
only
went to two.
went to
You went
one.
to one. Right. Yeah.
Right. We did the one. It was inside like a J.C. Penney or a Macy's or something.
Mall. Yeah.
Right.
Upstairs and yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And is that where David won?
That's possible. I think that was. Yeah, so by the way, guys, I probably should have explained this. There was a group of hooligans back in 1994 that traveled around to in total, I went to about 20 Nintendo World Championships 1994 tournaments because we had a group all from Jersey. We called ourselves the Jersey Boys, and we caused a lot of trouble all throughout the throughout the tournament. So that's kind of what we're talking about here is the 6 of us that all qualified, 5 being from the same neighborhood and 1 being Mike, who hung out in our neighborhood all the time. So technically we were all kind of just one group.
Yeah.
It's an amazing story.
Go ahead.
I was just complimenting you guys. I hope that this gets out more, and the more we talk about it, the more we document it, the better.
Yeah.
Should have been 7 of us, but Jason didn't make it. So
You know what? It happens. Like I said, it's just how it rolls. I mean, the unfortunate part of '94 is it wasn't like a '90 kart where it was completely skill based. There was a lot of luck involved in Griffey. I mean, I was a consistent player. I wasn't always the best player, but I didn't really have bad games, and that's what helped me later. Right? We'll get into that. But then we get past the summer of driving all over the Northeast, And then we moved to the finals, right? And then we're all there, you know, it's Dorian and his dad. It's me and John, and everybody else who came. David was there with his dad again.
How old's David at this point?
Remember.
David is just about a year older than me, so he would have been 18?
18, yeah.
Yeah, I want to say that's about right.
Yeah, that sounds right, because I was 23, so you guys are about 5 years younger.
Yeah.
So we get there. I mean, it's just a party, because unlike 90, where I really didn't know anyone, now I know, like, everyone. So, I mean, Nintendo's got this whole schedule. It's like, oh, we're going to go to SeaWorld, and we're going to do this, and we're going to go to the San Diego Zoo, and it's like, oh, God, this all sounds terrible. So we go and we do this stuff, and you remember the zoo, you know, we go there, and
where's all the animals?
It was cold.
It was freezing out.
San Diego, November, it was cold.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, now, granted, I'm a lot skinnier, so cold is affecting me a lot more than it does these days. Now I look at that and feel like, it's nothing, you know. But back then, man, if it was 45, it was cold.
You're in Jersey. You're not packing a coat to go to goddamn San Diego.
Right. It's pretty much it. So we get there, and it's like, we go to the zoo, and there's no animals. They had, like, it was a Nintendo Treehouse. That's actually what it was at the zoo, we were doing a Nintendo Treehouse.
This was the birth of that, right? That era.
Yeah.
Yeah. So somebody says, "Where's all the animals?" I said, "They're inside."
The smart animals are inside.
Right. The smart animals are. That was exactly it. The smart ones are inside. All the stupid ones are out here.
And she was so incensed at his answer. It was great.
It's good. This my quick wit, you know.
Yeah.
I always kind of had that. I forget them very quickly though.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean they did that. They did a breakfast. I remember. But man, we were doing other stuff too, but just between us. Right. It was just really cool to hang out for that weekend. And then, you know, we move on to the finals on Sunday. I don't remember very much about practice sessions or anything like that.
It's because we didn't attend them. We didn't attend them. We were in the hotel room playing
Donkey Kong.
Yes.
That's right. I forgot to mention. So before, now none of us have any idea that Donkey Kong is going to be in the finals eventually.
Spoilers.
Right.
I had a friend of mine that works at Software Etc. Right. He lent me the demo copy from the store a month before it came out.
Wow.
Okay. I call up Dorian and I'm like, dude, I've got Donkey Kong Country right here. It's the full game. He's like, what? So him and Jason Brigg come down, and we sat there and we played all night. We beat Donkey Kong Country all night.
A month.
You know,
a game is completely
fully
ready to go a month before launch, and they're giving it to retail employees. That is
unfathomable. Yeah, it was just demo. It just said Donkey Kong Country demo. But it was literally the whole game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it comes.
We dissected that game. We knew the secrets. We knew everything about it. Like
right.
That was,
we were playing out. Now I had to bring it back the next day, so I literally only had the one night.
Okay, but still.
Yeah, but then it turns. I'm going to the finals. The morning before I leave, the game comes in the store, and I went and bought it. So I took it with me on the plane. Mm-hmm. I got my SNES. I got everything. It's like, cool, we got this. We could play it over in San Diego. So that's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then
now let's
go
before
through
you get
everything else
there
first.
Yeah. Because I want to make sure. Do you remember this? Do you remember finding the warp zone?
Yes.
Well, okay.
We just accidentally hit the button as he's moving on the map, and all of a sudden, boom, warp zone. How'd you do that? I have no idea.
I have no idea.
I have no idea how I did that.
We sat there for a good hour and a half, seriously walking back and forth between the thing, trying to figure out how we accidentally warped in Donkey Kong Country. This is before the internet, you know, well, I guess the internet was kind of making its way around them, but this is before the internet had their hands on the game.
Mm-hmm.
And we somehow managed to find the warp which for those that don't remember or don't know, when you're walking on the map, if there's a bend in the map and you press the button to split frame that it lands on that point, you enter a warp zone. And we somehow managed to accidentally find that on the very first day. So we spent so much time in that hotel room trying to figure out how the hell we did what we had just done. And I bring that up because it's important. And it's important because of the fact that we wasted a lot of time that could have been spent learning more about the game had we known that that was going to be a game in the finals. That's why I brought that up.
No points in the warp zone. Yeah.
No points in the warp zone, nor can you get to the warp zone on the cart. So go on.
There were rumors that were spreading. They had Donkey Kong Country banners, but there were rumors that were spreading at the breakfast that it sounds like they might be switching to another cart. We don't know what it is, but we might be going to another cart in the finals. It's like, okay. We start speculating it's going to be Donkey Kong. Because it's advertised everywhere.
Yeah.
And they had changed the actual game, like the cartridge itself from that 10,000 point scoring system to the 1,000,000 point scoring system. So they're really throwing in all of these different wrenches. So we're just not
on the Griffey cart.
Mm-hmm.
Right, on the Griffey cart. Yeah.
Yeah. So we get to the finals, and now it's just, they're doing the full show. You got the announcer and everything. Now there's 132 cities they went to. One winner from each city. So we got 132 finalists. So in groups of 20, 24, something like that, you're going to go up.
That's about right.
You're going to play, and they're going to take the top 16 scores. Now, at this point, it's a luck shot. If you need to have a great game. I was figuring you need to hit 20 home runs in order to make it. I can't remember if I hit 19 or 20, but it was one of those two. And I think it was 20. I think I hit 20. Came back to my seat and I said, I don't know if that's going to make it, but whatever. And then you start seeing it's like most people didn't get it, but you see them here and there. There wasn't enough. I thought I had it, but this is where James Sorge kind of comes into the picture.
Resurfaces.
And we're gonna backtrack a little bit for the weekend here. I get to the hotel and whatnot. We do our check-in. And I'm up in my room. I come out of the room one day, and there's James Sorge and his mother. And he sees me. And I'm like, hey, I don't remember his name, But I'm just like, hey. He's like, it's you! You! Lightning's going to strike twice. I'm going to beat you. And I'm, oh, God, really?
You were supposed to be the best, and I beat you. Ha,
I'm
ha,
going to beat you again.
Yep.
You're going to go down. And he just keeps going. I'm looking at his mother like, just get him away from me. I don't need this. He's just a little shit kid that's just whatever.
It never made sense to us. It never made any sense.
He does this every time he sees me for the weekend. So
in front of people to brag and everything.
Right. He's a little kid, whatever. But then I've got to get my, comeuppance. He goes and he plays in the finals, and he's sitting right 2 rows in front of me. Mm-hmm. And he goes and he plays. It's like 14 home runs. Comes back to his seat, visibly, he knows he did shit. And I just said, hey, James, I don't think that's going to make it. Oh, no. Just starts bawling right in his seat. He's crying.
Oh.
I'm like, that's what you get for fucking with me.
Yeah.
And then he turns to me. Now, I'm always nice to everybody, so I'm just like, whatever. He turns to me and he goes, do you think they'll give me another chance if I I'm like, no, they're not going to let you play again.
I remember that.
Yeah. I'm like, that's it. You get one shot.
Look, I felt bad for the kid, right? But at the same time, I'm like, dude, you gave me shit all weekend, so you know what? Eat it.
And it was literally every time he was around, because he just wanted to brag that he beat him. So every time, no matter who the crowd was, we were standing near. It was, oh, that's the guy I beat. Oh, I beat him. He's supposed to be so good. I'm going to beat him again.
Him in a little while. Okay, but let's finish up the rest of the tournament. Okay, that would have been I would have never remembered that incident if it wasn't for what comes later.
And let's just finalize. I got the list up here. He finished 55th for a 10-year-old against all these monsters.
It's fantastic.
That's pretty damn good. If you're 10,
Absolutely.
you should be on top of the world that you get a free trip to San Diego, but instead, it's going to be eating in his brain for the rest of his goddamn life.
Hey, how funny you mentioned that. We'll get to that soon.
Okay, and just also for the record, Dorian finishes 34th with 18 million.
There's a story there too, by the way.
Quarter.
I was 17th originally.
He was the first loser.
I was the first loser. I initially finished in 17th, and my score got changed. All right, so quick side story before we move on with the next part of the tournament. When I played during my Mario game, the screen rolled, and the screen rolled to where you couldn't see what was going on the screen, and it caused a death in Mario. The referees did see it. It's on video and everything else. They offered me a replay. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take the replay. Why not? Right. And so they brought me into this room and they put me on a 12-inch screen where I did much worse. And that's how I ended up in 34th.
Bob flashback. So we'll get to his story next time.
I know.
Yeah.
Yep. I didn't bring it up, but yeah, absolutely.
So those 132 finished playing, and they start calling the people up, and ended up that I was in 11th. Okay. And Jason Brigg also made the finals. So 2 of our guys are up there on stage. And I think he also made the top 8. The top 8 played. Or I'm sorry, the top 16 played, and they're going to take the top 8. And I think I placed 5th. So I don't remember where Jason was, but I'm pretty sure he placed in the top 8.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. Now the top 8 are going to play, and then we're going to move to 4. Now here's where I placed 3rd. Okay. Jason was now out. So now it's me. It's Brandon Veach and 2 other people that I can't remember right now.
And I'm sorry to jump in. Just
shout them out. Yeah.
I'm looking to scores because I brought up the page. Did you set up this web page that has all these scores from all the rounds?
No.
No.
It's on SNES Central.
SNESmaps.com.
He's on the page
SNES
that was
Maps.
made.
Right.
Yeah, he's on the one that was made by. I feel terrible. He might see this video, and I apologize for not remembering your name.
It's referenced on Wikipedia, by the way. If anybody else wants to look at it too, it's at the bottom of the references.
He's the one who the other person who owned the Nintendo World Championships 1994 card. Yeah, I just can't think of his name off the top of my head, and I apologize if you watch this.
Right. So now we move into top 4, and now comes the announcement: we're changing the game. Like, okay, we're going to bring out Donkey Kong Country. Now they bring us all to the back, and it's like, okay, you guys are going to play Donkey Kong Country back here. You can get some practice, and then we're going to go on the stage. It was just regular Donkey Kong Country in the back. Wasn't a special card. We had no idea what's going on. Okay.
And there's no score in Donkey Kong Country 2.
There's not.
Not in the regular
it's
vanilla
part 1.
version.
It's Donkey Kong Country 1. There's no score.
So we have no idea what the rules are going to be.
The 2 people that have never played it before are already complaining. It's like, we've never played this, and I'm like, yeah, I've got this at my hotel. I've been playing this all weekend.
Yep.
Brandon also had it in his hotel, and he'd been playing it. So at this point, it's like, I have all the information I need. We go on stage, and it's like, okay, these 2 guys have no idea what they're doing, but Brandon does. My whole thing here is I just need to learn how scoring works.
Right.
Because we're both coming in blind. We have no idea what's going on. So I'm playing, just trying to figure out score, what's worth it. Obviously, just get as many bananas as you can.
Now,
that's the most score that you're going for.
Do they tell you this?
No.
Mm-mm.
So you just play it. You don't have no idea what the scoring mechanics are.
That was the thing.
Wow.
Basically, Mike was taking the first round, going, they're going to take the top 2 anyway. I don't have to compete here. I can learn the scoring system.
I just have to beat the guys who have no idea what they're doing.
Right.
Now we're playing, and there's a secret at the end of the first stage, where if you drop in the hole, it's a barrel, and the barrel shoots you into a bonus stage. Well, that's not there.
Yeah, they removed the barrel in that version.
I roll and die, and the first thing I do is I look at him in the audience, and I'm like, "What the hell?" And he's just like,
I'm like, "What?" And the whole crowd, the whole crowd is like,
"Oh."
They're thinking, "Oh man, they died."
Jimmy didn't get the star.
Right.
There's supposed to be a secret there.
Brandon rolls into the same exact spot and dies. Mike notices that, and we're both like, all right, we're good.
Right. Don't jump in the hole. Don't fall in the hole.
Right, don't do
Just
that again.
Okay, I'm good. So we go through that, and it ends up I do play second, beat the other guys. That was my whole motivation there. Okay.
Fairly close too. You had 2189 and James Frank had 2076, so it wasn't a blowaway.
No, but it's not a lot of score in those games either.
No.
Right? So now it comes me versus Brandon. And my game starts first. And there's about a good 4-second delay before his starts. And I see it because we're not like right next to each other on stage. It's more like this, and I'm back further. Okay, so I can see his screen, but he can't see mine, which is weird. So I'm just like, okay, now I need to win. There's no figuring anything out. I know what to do. Let's just go. So I flat out, and at the end, my game ends, but he's still playing. And let me tell you, that is the longest 4 seconds you can imagine. Because I'm just looking, I'm like, he's getting more score. He's still getting more score.
Oh.
He entered like a secret area, and it's like, but please stop. Stop. Time out. I'm like, holy shit, I won. Literally me on stage. Holy shit, I won.
Yeah.
Dorion leaps over like 5 rows of people.
I don't understand how I did this. I had so much adrenaline. So they had lined us up in these theater-style chairs, right? And I jumped over 4 or 5 rows of people in a single bound to jump over all of these people to go running up onto the stage to grab Mike and just freaking.
They wouldn't let him.
Yeah. They ended up they pulled me down. I did make it up there for a second. They pulled me right down. Yeah.
And then I said, to the announcer, because now everything is chaotic. They're trying to calm things down. I said to him, can I bring my friends on stage? Yes, we'll do that. No, that didn't happen. They shuffle you off the stage into a back area because they want to capture the emotion. It's like, oh, we're going to put you in the car and you're going to drive the car 10 feet. And so we're going through that whole scenario. They put me in the car. It's a stick. Can you drive a stick? Yes. But apparently on this stick, not unlike the one I have at home, if you don't hold the clutch in, the car won't start. I'm used to just throwing neutral. Throw neutral, hold the brake, start the car. Well, on a newer car, newer at the time, 94, apparently it won't start unless you're holding in the clutch. Okay. So then I go and I drive the car, whatever. And then it's like,
he embarrassed himself.
Picture time. Okay.
And this car is an upgrade from the Geo Metro from 1990, by the way.
It was. Heck yeah.
It's a Mustang GT.
Oh, yeah. Mustang little bit of an upgrade.
It was a regular Mustang, yeah.
Yeah. So, they got Donkey Kong there and Mario, and they're taking pictures, and I'm me. This is me winning. It's like, you should smile. You just won a new car, aren't you? Yeah, cool. I want to go and hang out with my friends now. So, this guy couldn't get me. This guy hated me. The cameraman hated me. So all those pictures you see, like from far away, cameraman just hated me.
Yeah.
Because he just would not cooperate. But you know what? Look, that's me. That's me. I'm sorry. So then it's just this rush, get back to the hotel. Oh, we got to be on a flight at 6 o'clock or whatever. We're going to head to the airport. We got a red eye. You're going to be on a TV show at like 5 a.m. I don't know what it's called. Some Fox show, whatever. And I'm like, okay, I got a friend with me. We were planning to stay longer and go visit some friends. Well, we'll handle that when we get back. We'll put him in a limo and send him home. Okay. So that's what happened to John. We get back, and it's like, bam, here's a limo. Go home. And I ended up doing this, morning show, and then they stick me in a hotel where I pissed Nintendo off. So I sit in this hotel for 2 days, and it's like, oh, we're trying to do Letterman, we're trying to do Leno, we're trying to do all this stuff. They got news people coming by doing interviews, and they'll give you like, if they bring up like video game violence, just avoid the topic because Mortal Kombat was a big thing at the time. So they want you to avoid that. So I'm doing interviews. It's funny because the interview when it happened. I remember Fun and Games had it on the TV and saw me. So when I went back there, they're talking, we saw you on the news. Great. Meanwhile, I call up, and it wasn't Dorian, but I called up Rich, and him and a bunch of friends came by, and we went and, we were like cleaning out the fucking liquor in the hotel room. I'm staying at like some fancy hotel. So I'm calling up this girl that I know that I was supposed to go see in California. We're talking on the phone all day because they left me in the hotel by myself.
Which is long distance calling back then.
Right. Yep. So I ran up a $600 hotel bill in 2 days. And we go to check out, and they're like, really? What? You left me in the hotel for 2 days.
What are you supposed to do? Not call anybody?
Right.
Right.
So, oh well. That wasn't even counting the day that we checked out where there was more, But yeah, they were not happy with me on that day. I'm like, whatever, you're Nintendo. 600, you're going to bitch?
Right.
Whatever. Get out of here. So, I mean, that was kind of it. That was 94 in a nutshell. Not a lot happened after. I mean, then the prizes come. They sent me the exercise bike. They sent a VCR. They sent a TV. They sent me a box full of 50 games, which that's another story I can go into. A whole bunch of stuff. It ended up being about $32,000 in cash and prizes. It was a $20,000 check because it was a $5,000 cash prize, and then it was the car or $15,000 cash.
Right.
So it's either, we're going to give you $15,000 cash, or we're going to give a dealership $15,000. You go buy a car. Yeah, cash.
Yeah, got to pay tax on that.
Just write the $20,000 check. Thanks.
They did not give that option to the 1990 winner, by the way. They had to take the car, and they had to pay the tax.
Well, they had to. It was the same thing. When I talked to Bob, he said it was the same deal where they gave the money to a dealership.
No. He specifically told us in the last time that we interviewed that they did not get that option. They actually said that he had to pay the taxes on it, period, and he had to scrape through his whole summer.
No, they didn't give him a cash option, but they didn't just hand him the card. They gave the money to a dealership.
Yes. I got you. Okay. Yeah, but they didn't give him an option to take the cash.
No. Right. And they didn't even get a cash prize. They got a CD or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
$5,000
savings
bond.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, oh well, I had better prizes 4 years later. Then you go to 2015, and it's like, hey, you win a Nintendo
DS. Here's a DS.
Absolutely nothing.
I felt bad for John Goldberg when I met him, and I asked him, I'm like, what'd they give you? DS, a trophy. That's it. Multi-billion-dollar Nintendo of 2015 can't afford prizes.
No, this is Wii U Nintendo. They couldn't afford.
Yeah, right. That wasn't their heyday, right?
Okay, so we get all these prizes. Cool. Went and bought my own Mustang with the money. I bought like an '89 LX50. Spent $6,000 on that. But the games, I didn't want the games. I already had any game I wanted. I already had.
Thank you again for that.
A lot of the games that I didn't have that were there were crap, like Cinderella. Dude, crap. I don't want this. But you know what these are? These are unopened SNES games. A box of unopened SNES games. Okay, what can I do with that? You know what? Toys R Us takes games back if they're unopened and gives you full price. They'll give you the store price on them, but they won't give you cash. They give you Jeffrey money, which shit. If you buy games, that's just as good as cash.
Mm-hmm.
So me and Dorian and somebody else every time, it'd be like, here, you take these, you take these, you take these. We'll go in, we'll trade them in, and that's what we did. And I ended up, man, I had like $1,000 plus in Jeffrey money, huge bankroll of Jeffrey money. And whenever something came out, it's like, new game's out. Toys R Us, let's go. Here. And that was it. So that was our game money for a while. So I had driven out to Ohio to visit my mother, and on the way back, I got pulled over. Cop pulls me over. I'm like, okay. So he's like, "You step out of the car." Sure. And I got my trench coat on.
Of course.
And he's like, "Can I pat you down?" Yeah, sure. What's that? Oh. Okay, I got a story for you. So I won the Nintendo World Championships last year. And one of the prizes for winning was I went through the whole spiel on how I got the money with this cop. After I'm done, he looks at me and he's like, "Nobody can make that up. Slow down. You can go."
Good job, Ohio cop.
Right? I was almost out of Ohio when he fucking snagged me too. But yeah, that's what happened with that Jeffrey money. So it's a great story too. So then, I mean, that's pretty much it for the '94 tournament with that. But then, we move on to like 2007, right? Now, I don't want to miss that. The next year, Blockbuster did a competition, and they used the Donkey Kong Country card.
For
right?
Blockbuster
so that was
2.
No, it was one, wasn't it?
No, one was also the same year, '94, and in fact, the winner of the '94 tournament, Mark Ganane, was on your team. He qualified up in the Boston area. So
okay, and I remember '93 was Star Fox.
'93 was Star Fox.
Right. '93 was which I played. I won. One of the stores got the jacket, which they gave the winner of each city in '94 a jacket also. But it was Jason Orlando won like 6 stores and had like 6 Star Fox jackets or something crazy. Yeah. So '95 they did use the Donkey Kong Country cards for the Blockbuster tournament, and then Nintendo sold them on their website, and I had one. I have no idea what happened to it. I think somebody borrowed it.
Yeah.
And I never saw that again. I think I had a Star Fox one as well at one time.
I have repros of both, so that's the best. I'm not gonna spend $1,000 plus for a real one.
Now, I remember when they went up on the Nintendo store online, and it was like $50. It's like, hell yeah, I'm all over that. I'm definitely getting one. I got one. Whitlock got one. I used to talk to him all the time back then. But yeah, that was great. Okay, so now we fast forward. 2007, 2000. It was your not the first time I saw you, Dorian. I think it was 7 because it was.
I think it was before that.
With you and Amanda in the living room together. You had the couch with your monster TV in the corner.
Yep.
It wasn't the one that had a bedroom on each side and then the living room in the middle. That was the first one I came to by you. So I want to say it was 2007 I came over there.
Could have been.
And what happened is before I get there, every once in a while, I imagine everybody does this at one point. You do the Google of yourself, right? Just to see what comes up.
Especially when it was new.
Sure. So I do that, and I find this post online. And it's like, James Sorge versus Mike Iarossi. It'll happen again. I'll get my revenge. And this is his footer on like a forum post or something. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
It's his signature on every post that he makes.
Right. So, I mean, this is like several years earlier. I had never seen it, right? So I go out to visit Dorian. And, I mean, this completely slips my mind, right? And, again, I didn't even remember who this kid was until I see this. And I'm like, oh, my God, that's him. So I'm at Dorian's place. And I'm like, Dorian, you have to see this. Go do this search. And he does it, and this post comes up, and he's like, oh, my God. Oh, my God. You ruined this kid's life.
You made a comic book supervillain.
You ruined this kid's
life. No. You did not. He ruined. Oh, God.
This is like 12 years later.
Look, James, if you ever see this video, I just want you to know I hold no ill will towards you, but holy crap, dude, you got to let that go, man. You have to let that go.
I have to imagine that he's let it go by now.
I would have thought so too, but
12 years
between
12 years
This is an
later,
open
I was a
invitation
little-
for us to talk to him too. I would
Yeah,
love to get
absolutely.
the story. However you want to have closure on this. As you'll notice with all of our guests, everybody seems to have that crap I lost moment and they needed to redeem themselves. Even Thor had that when he first lost in his first NWC regional and then went on to another regional, and Robin had his moment and Rebecca had her moment, and it's everybody's got. I had my moment in 1990 and I redeemed myself 25 years later, but everybody's got that moment when they're stepped on and feel like shit. So it's not the end of the world, and kind of appreciate what you do have. I mean, not everybody gets to go to LA or to San Diego to win these things,
I'll even go one step further. I'll invite him to one of the events that we host, and do a reunion battle between the two of them for fun. It won't be anything, it won't be anything crazy, but it would be awesome just to kind of give him that revenge match. And if he wins, great. If he loses, great. Whatever the case may be, I think it'd be fun. He'll get a trip out for free, and we'll
nab that sealed copy of Barbie Adventures for SNES and have that as the.
Yep.
I'm going to add one more recent thing to this, but within the last 2 years or something. I have so many people on my Facebook from the scene. And apparently James Swords is friends with one of them. And I saw James Swords reply to a post that somebody made. And, I went and I looked at his Facebook for a minute. And whether on purpose or not, his Facebook URL ends with 94. Like, how you go to it'll say your name, right? Mm-hmm. Well, his is like his name 94, or it's his handle that he uses online, whatever it is, 94. And I'm just like, that is not an accident.
Ultimately, that's a hell of an accomplishment that he did, that getting to the finals. Yeah. So I'm proud of the kid. I still think he was a total and utter dick for no reason at all whatsoever.
He was a kid.
He's 10.
He was a kid, and you know what? I can write it off as that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only reason it ever became a story, this would never be talked about if we never found the post.
Right. We would have forgotten
12 years later.
Yeah, I had forgotten.
That was the only thing that really made it a story, and it turns out that it's like, wow, I devastated this kid to the point where this is like his fucking nightmare, that he wakes up sweating in the middle of the night. Oh, Mike, shit. That's good stuff.
So, now, one thing that we did forget to mention was at the 94 tournament, they also did the teams competition.
I was about to ask that.
Yeah, I actually forgot to bring that up. So just to give some background there were 4 regions of the country. And what they did was they divided up the teams by regions and then gave each one a team. So there was the Hurricanes, the Tornadoes, the Cyclones, and the Typhoons, right? I think those were the 4.
Those names blow. Sorry.
So dad joke. Anyway. Yeah. So they put us in they put us into these teams, and we're like, okay, well, this isn't even close to fair. We have the least number of players on our team, and then we look at it like, hey, you know what? This could be interesting. Let's do it. So, Mike, how did we do?
There was a prize for it too, wasn't there?
There was some extra games.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was some type of prize for winning. So anyway, I mean, we had like 2 less players than every other team. I don't remember the exact numbers for it, but I remember that we were short. And then when they announced it at the end, we still annihilated every other team.
I wonder if those scores are anywhere. That would be awesome.
God, did they just
base it off of your regular round?
The other teams with less people, but we had our whole crew in our team.
Yeah, and we had some of our best games during that as well, which just kind of made that funny.
Right, like I said, 2 of us made the top 8.
Right. Brandon Veach was the top player in the qualifier, and he was on your team?
He was on our team, too. I want to say that 3 of the top 4 were Tornadoes.
James Frank, Majid, I don't pronounce his last name, El Ghazar, I guess. I don't want to butcher it, but I just did. And Jason Probst, number 7. So
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
four of the top 7.
Provost
3 of the top 4.
2 of the top 4, number 1 and 2.
Okay.
Yeah, Provost was that Jason that I was talking about that was one of the Jersey boys with us.
Brian Smith was number 9, 5 of the top 10, 5 of the top 9.
Wow.
Yeah, we just had a lot of really good players on our team.
And that makes sense. And that's interesting that the East Coast dominated so much that time, whereas the 90 NWC was more of a West Coast deal.
Mm-hmm.
It was me, it was Dorian, it was Rick, it was David, it was John, it was Jason.
And, well, those were the 6 from the Jersey boys.
But wasn't there 7?
No, there was
No,
6.
it was 6?
Jason Orlando didn't make it.
So there you go. There's our 6.
Yeah, it was our 6.
Make sure they all get mentioned.
Yep, absolutely. David's going to be joining us probably this week, if not next week.
Nice. Okay, so then fast forward 2015, right?
Right.
They're doing another tournament, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go because I want to be able to qualify again. That's my big thing. Is I won 94, finalist in 90. I have to at least try to make 2015. Now I'm a little upset that they're trying to say that this is our first Nintendo World Championships. 25 years. It's like, hi.
Oh yeah.
This literally says Nintendo World Championships.
Yep.
Nintendo World Championships. First place winner, me.
Yeah.
And reigning champion, might I add.
Right, because there wasn't another. They had smaller tournaments. There was never another Nintendo World Championship. So apparently Nintendo gives 0 fucks about me.
Did you know there was one in 2010?
There was a Wii one with Wii Fit, right? And then there was a Wii U one with Smash, I think, right?
Yeah, Smash wasn't promoted as it was a single game, but in the 2010 one was Mario Kart. Then they threw in like the Wii Fit stuff just as a because I
actually talked to Dorian. I said they're doing a tournament. I'll come out to Arizona and me and you could do it together.
Right.
And because it was a team, they had a team competition and a singular competition.
Yep.
Right?
It was all teams. It was
right. So I told him, I'm like, dude, let's do it. And we never did.
We talked to Zach, the winner of one, a couple episodes ago. So he's a really cool guy. And I never even heard of it until I met him in 2017. So this is only 7 years ago, and we don't know about this stuff. This isn't like lack of internet. That's gross negligence to forget that existed.
I knew about it, and like I said, I spoke to Dorian and wanted to do it, but we just didn't. You know, for whatever.
And I can't remember why. I don't remember why we ended up not doing it. I think that ultimately it came down to the game selection that we were just like, this is stupid. Let's just not even bother.
I think you were really busy at the time too.
Yeah, work back then kind of sucked.
Yeah. So, yeah, we definitely knew that. You know what? Nintendo, for promotion purposes, it was better to say, hey, this is a 25th anniversary. First one we've done since then. So it just sounded better, even though it was, inaccurate.
There's actually one other part to that. Hold on. I actually spoke with one of the people who was organizing the whole thing. They originally planned on doing this the year before. They were going to do 2014, and they were going to say that it was the 20-year anniversary. They didn't get the plans done in time, and so they ended up saying, okay, well, we're not going to wait until the next anniversary for that. So instead, what we'll do is we'll do 2015 and just say it's the 25 year.
Was Mario Maker delayed? Was that part of it, you think?
I think that was it. I think that he said something along the lines of they didn't have everything in place to get the tournament out on time. So I would assume that would be very likely what it was.
Because that's the whole reason for the damn thing, was to show Mario Maker in that setting, which was genius marketing. That was
absolutely
that game was gold for that format. That was
it. Sure as heck.
That was the home run of 2015. Was watching that race in Mario Maker. It was amazing. So
2015, we I decided I'm going to go. It's Dr. Mario. I'm actually decent at what you do in Dr. Mario there, and I started putting in my practice. So I'm putting in my practice. I'm doing okay, and I'm like, I can do this. I can win one of these. Okay. So I get in touch with Triforce, right? And me and Triforce end up going to Chicago together. We hop on a bus, and I had a friend of mine from my stream. He's going to pick me up. He lives in Chicago. He's like, I'll pick you up at the bus stop, and we'll drive over there. We'll drive over to the Best Buy. So we do that. Now, I've been on a bus all night.
Mm-hmm.
I get there. It's raining.
Yep.
We're standing outside in the rain for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm at the back of the line already.
Yep.
So I'm miserable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now I've got like backup clothes in the trunk of the car, you know. So it's like right before we go inside, I fucking change my shirt, which is now just drenched. I like take your shirt out of the washer before it goes on rinse.
Yeah.
Or before it goes on spin.
Yeah.
You know. That was me. So I go and I change my shirt, go inside, and I'm like, okay, I got this. Now, the problem is I haven't eaten. And I'm diabetic these days now. So I'll go to a couple other things as well. But essentially my hand shakes. And it's hard for me to control that. And it gets worse if your blood sugar's low. Okay?
Yep.
So I get in there to play, and if you start getting, like, if nerves hit, that's going to make it worse.
Yep.
So, Triforce has a friend with him when he's recording. He's recording this. I hope he just deleted it right afterward. But I'm sitting there and I'm playing, and I'm doing okay. I get into Dr. Mario, and clear the first board. I've got the second board set up, full setup.
Yep.
And I need my one piece to drop it, and I get it, and I move it one too far.
All it takes.
And then the next piece wasn't it, and that was it. It was a line out right there. But literally, this was my fucking screen with the DS in my hand the whole time. And
don't. I hope that's not erased, because I want it. If that's visible.
No, I'd never want to see that. I never ever want to see that. So
and walls
that was it. That was the end of my documentary. Now at this point, we didn't know there were going to be any way to play again. So there was something else going on in the area at the time.
Galloping Ghost.
Walter Day was going to be at Galloping Ghost. So I'm like, let's head over there. Met Walter before. It'd be good to go and see him again. I'd like to go to the arcade. So that's what we did. Right out the door. I think we went with, if you know who Abdallah Smash is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was there with him.
He featured me on one of his videos, and he featured you in one of his videos that day.
Right. So we went to lunch, me, him, Triforce, and two other people. We went to some place, ate some lunch, maybe at Fuddruckers or something. And
that name is never not funny. Go ahead.
And then we went to Galloping Ghost. And I got to Galloping Ghost, and I get a call from Dorion. He's like, hey, they're letting us play again. I'm like 45 minutes from the place now.
Yeah.
So, and they close in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the end of my 2015, and I didn't even stay around to know who won. So I wasn't there when that happened. Chris, sorry about that.
No.
I kind of just wrote it off after that, because it was like, you know what? If I'm not there, then I don't care.
I had heard you were there
finals.
and you had your Mario trophy, but I was so into my own shit at the moment. Like, any other day, I'd be like, yeah, I want to meet this guy. And I also seen you, or no, this is after the fact when I heard about, because Nintendo Quest had featured you. So that was after.
Right.
Because
Yes.
So that was later
I
on.
went up and did something with Rob up in Cleveland. I went to see the movie with them, and then we did a little interview after that. That was really cool. Rob's a great guy.
Mm-hmm. He's been in this room when it was cleaner.
Right.
Nice.
No, good people, you know. And so we had fun over at Galloping Ghost. That was a good time. Triforce is a good dude. He's a little weird sometimes. There was a thing that happened where Triforce was trying to get me to be one of the special guests at the finals. So he goes and he gets this Nintendo Life website, and they do an article. where he basically says, I'm getting him as a finalist. He's going to be there. And they did an interview with me as if that was fact. And that interview was on the web. And it's like, dude, I'm like, they haven't said anything yet. This isn't.
They didn't even get Bob.
And
Triforce is very adamant about things. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll do it. It's fine. Let's go. And then it didn't happen. And I feel like jackass, you know.
Well, at that time, we had heard that, and I was working with Triforce on this too. Like he was really trying hard. They had kind of divulged some information that there were going to be special guests. Eight
qualifiers, eight guests. We had no idea who the 8 guests were, what the qualifying was.
Right.
Like, I was under the impression that the top 8 people on the leaderboard were going to be the 8 guests. I had no idea that they were going to invite internet celebrities. But
yeah, see, we didn't know that they were going to be YouTubers. Like, we didn't understand that part. So we were like, it makes perfect sense that they're going to invite the Nintendo World Champions. Triforce had it in his head that when he heard that they were doing these guests, that was the type of people that they were looking for. And that makes sense to me. You know what I mean? Like, it would have made sense to have Thor, to have Mike, to have the old Nintendo World Champions come out, right? Obviously that wasn't the way that it went, and it ended up being, you know, a number of YouTube celebrities and speedrunners and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Triforce did try to make that happen, but to his detriment, he also kind of made it sound like it was fact before it was.
It was awkward. It was awkward for me at the time, and you know what? That's just how it goes. It wasn't the end of the world. I wanted to go. Like I said, I was just bummed that I lost. I was bummed that I lost because I knew that was something that I was still capable of doing. Right. And I mean, I'm not going to do it anymore. You know, it's just the competitive edge of me. I want to say it's 100% gone, but I don't care as much anymore. You know, it's just not something I need. I did that, and you know, I'll always have this.
Yep.
So I don't
until I take it from you.
I don't need that anymore over my dead body.
Oh, you caught that. All right, good.
Yeah. That was actually this guy.
Oh, nice.
Look at that picture. That. Good stuff. Yeah. Look at that mustache.
Where'd you get that?
I have the paper from when it was published.
I can see that.
From that day.
Like, you kept it and you never showed it to me? Yeah. Bastard.
It was, I mean, a lot of this stuff is just sat in storage, right?
I got you. Yeah.
What sucks is, you know, I have like the day of the paper. You can't get this online.
Right.
No.
They're not
archived like you think they are.
Archived. Yeah.
You should figure out how to preserve that a bit, because that newspaper is just going to get more yellow and brittle. And
it is. I pulled it out of storage more recently because I wanted to get the pictures for Retro City. I wanted to get something that hadn't been out there before. Mm-hmm. You know, I try to do that, and yeah, you guys got them now, so you can take a look at that one that I scanned. That might be this same. It's the same one. That's this one. I have another one. I think it's over there. I do have 2 different ones though, but this is the one that's scanned. So I have another paper sitting over there that I don't have scanned yet. But yeah, just so you could throw that in there and, you know, have that show up in the video. But that's good stuff.
Yeah, so let's get back on. Let's get back now that we're ready to finish out the video. Are there any other topics we want to cover before we close it out, or what?
Well, I mean, you're streaming now, Mike. So, like, kind of tell us the evolution of that.
I'm not streaming now. You mean these days?
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
So let's transition into that. All right. So, what are you doing these days? So you said you're not competitive anymore. At least that side of you is kind of burnt out a little bit. What do you do for fun? What are you doing these days?
Right. I mean, you know, I say that it's burnt out, but, you know, we did this thing last month at Retro City, and I still practiced because I didn't want to look like an ass in front of everyone. And my entire goal was don't be worst, right? At least be, you know, next to worst. So I did. I sat there, I practiced, I learned some random Tetris pattern, and, you know, did well enough that I felt good about it. And
you guys did all great.
But it was good. It was a fun time. It was really cool to see some of those other guys. You know, I mean, obviously we've seen Chris a bunch, but I never met Robin, at least not since 1990. So it was really cool to see him again. And a lot of the other guys. I wish Thor was there, but it sucked that he couldn't make it. Other than that, I've been doing streaming for 7 years. It'll be 8 years, later this year. And I mean,
So
I
you were
just
on
play.
early.
I did. I mean, it was right when Twitch started. I actually, when I made the account, it was still Justin. It was Justin TV. And the way that came around was, I just started screwing around. I like figuring things out. I like just trying to know how things work. How do I do this? How is that done? And I will sit there and, just figure that out. So that was just one of those things. And it turned out that it was like in July or something where I started, and then I started playing like Diablo on the stream just for, a couple friends of mine. But as it got into like August, I said, you know what? Dark Souls is coming out in a few months. And I love Demon Souls. So I need to play this on stream. I didn't really know what I was getting into at the time, but part of me was, I need to figure out how I can do this. How can I stream my console? So do some research, like, okay, I got to get a capture card. I get the capture card. I start screwing around with that in like September, and bam, I got it. And then it's like, okay, Dark Souls comes, I'm going to start streaming Dark Souls. And again, not knowing what I'm really getting myself into. I think it was October 6th or 8th where Dark Souls 1 came out, and started streaming it. And man, I suck. I get to Taurus Demon, and it's like die, 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 die. And I'm
You're
looking
not
at
the
it
only
like,
one.
man, I'm doing this in front of 6 people. This is uncomfortable. So I would shut the stream down, right? But then I would come back, I would come back either later that day or the next day, and I would gradually get over that fear, right, of failing in front of people.
Right.
But what's happening is every day people are flocking. It started out with 6. By the end of the second day, it was 18. And then, by the end of that week, it was, like 60. And by the end of that month, I was a partner on Twitch. Right?
Wow.
Several hundred. I would turn my stream on, and there'd be 250 people in the channel.
And nobody knows about your history. This is just people wanting to watch Dark Souls.
Yeah. No camera.
And this is
nothing.
early on, so like there weren't too many people that really
that's
knew
exactly
about it.
There's not a lot of people doing it. So the ones that are, people are going to. And I mean, I would play like 16 hours. I'd start at noon. I'd go until 4 in the morning. And then I do the same thing the next day. And I mean, you find out fairly quickly that people are not loyal to you. They're loyal to what you're playing.
Yeah.
So I got a little tired of Dark Souls at the end of November and said, I'm going to play Skyrim. Well, there goes your viewership. You're not playing Dark Souls and suffering anymore, so I don't really want to watch you play Skyrim. And I mean, I'm not the most talkative person. I like to play. I like to let the gameplay and the game speak for itself. Like, I'm not one that's just, I don't want the stream to be about me.
Right.
I want the stream to be about the game. And that's, there's not a lot about that out there, and it's not very widely accepted. I have my viewers that I love. I've done really well with some games over the years. Like Dark Souls was the best for me, but I did really well with Borderlands 2. I had a great Borderlands 2 following on Twitch for a while, and Diablo 3 I did really well with. But Dark Souls is the bread and butter. Next month is Sekiro. I can't wait. I'm doing a 24-hour stream. I only do a 24-hour stream when a new Souls game, when a new From Software game comes out. That's my 24-hour stream. Mm-hmm. And the last one I did was Dark Souls 3. And before that, Bloodborne. But yeah, when Sekiro comes out, from the time it launches, my stream will be up for 24 hours. That's awesome. That'll be interesting. It's a little harder as I get older.
Yeah.
Try and plan these things a little bit better. But
what's your channel?
Quick One. QIK1. Twitch.tv/QIK1.
Great. We'll put a link to
at
that in the chat in the video.
At the
comment.
time, they wouldn't let you have 3-letter names. Yeah. And then Microsoft went and bought my URL.
Wow.
Oh, right.
They bought a company called Quick, QIK. They made some type of image software or something.
Way to go, Dorian.
And Microsoft bought them. So Quick.com is owned by Microsoft and redirects to Microsoft.com. Thanks.
Yep.
But I have Quick1.com, so it's going to be going through a massive overhaul sometime this year. Whenever I finally decide what is going to get done with it. It looks terrible right now. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy the streaming. I really do. I keep telling people, I'm like, if I ever become rich, like stupid rich, I would still stream.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I like doing it. I just like sitting there. When people do talk to me, I like the banter. You know, I like to sit there and converse with my viewers, and I really enjoy playing. You know, and while that might not always come through, because again, I'm stubborn when it comes to how I play games. You know, I want to figure the things out for myself. Don't give me tips.
Right.
Don't tell me everything. And that's hard to watch sometimes. It's hard to watch somebody, you know, not know an answer to something and
when you know the answer. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been a challenge at times, but you know what? I love doing it. I have great viewers. Really, you know, did a solid for me last year, which was great. Yeah, I like what I do. I don't know how much you can see of my background, but it's loaded with all types of gaming paraphernalia.
Speaking of which, bring that trophy up to the camera for us. Let's let everybody see what that looks like.
Let's see how that comes in on the camera here.
It'll look really good. Just don't get too close, otherwise it'll go out of focus.
Sure.
Move it to your. Move it over. More. There you go. Perfect.
I got it.
Right in the middle there.
So awesome. There it is. And this, I mean, you're going to get some glare here, so it's a little hard.
Which is fine. We can see your name. That's all that matters. Nintendo World Championships, November 20th, 1994, Mike Iarossi.
And unlike Dr. Disrespect, that's legit.
Right. not a blockbuster champion either.
Oh, no. He didn't even win that.
Two-time blockbuster champion. So 1994 is 25th year anniversary.
I'd like to get
November 20th. When November 20th happens, I'm going to try and do an AMA on Reddit. And, you know, I'll get a post out there saying, hey, you know, 25 years ago, I won the Nintendo World Championships. And I'm going to try and do an AMA there. So I do have plans to try and celebrate it a little bit this year. But, you know, we'll see.
I'd like to get a panel of this podcast up in Portland this year. So I hope with Robin's help, we can make that happen. And if we can get you out there for that, that'd be amazing.
That'd be great. I sent an email off to Replay asking them if they wanted to do something too.
Yeah.
I'm going to be at Replay. Back and said, maybe, you know, we'll look into it, blah, blah, blah. So.
Are you talking about the one in Pittsburgh, Replay Facts?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'm running the Dr. Mario tournament there, so.
You know, it's interesting. They moved to August this year.
First week, yeah. It's always that July-August corridor.
It's literally the week before Game On.
Yeah. Well, at least it's not the same weekend like last year.
So even if I come out there, Dorian, it won't be until,
right,
that week.
Right.
Yeah.
Understood.
But, man, it was really great getting to go over this with you guys, you know? So,
we appreciate you coming out.
This. Lowly little me.
Guys, anybody who's watching this, make sure you subscribe to his channel. Like I said, we're going to put it in the section down below where you can put the information and whatnot. I'll make sure that there's a link in there so that everybody can kind of follow him on Twitch.
It's not a podcast if I don't give somebody the finger.
Right.
That's true. I agree.
That's right.
I'm used to it anyway. It's not even shocking to me.
And you were wearing trench coats before Clerks came out in Silent Bob. I'll just have to say that, by the way, too.
Yeah, and speaking of Clerks, did you ever find
He stole it from you,
No,
not the other way around.
no, I'm sure. You know what? That got lost in the move, man.
I know it did. I had a copy of Clerks before they added the music because my father put the Chulies gum salesman in that movie, and
damn it, Dorian, you know freaking everybody. Okay.
Oh God, it just we had a copy of that on VHS, and it was the rough edit before any of the edits actually happened,
right.
And I lent it to Mike and never saw it again. That's why he owes me his trophy.
Oh, that's
I see. That's why.
I think that edit is actually available on like the Blu-ray version.
Laserdisc.
Yeah.
Laserdisc.
Laserdisc has it too. I have the Laserdisc copy. I just never watched it because I'm not gonna actually watch a Laserdisc. It's just to collect. But
right.
Any other crazy links we have to Popcorn?
Right.
Yeah, man, there's been so much stuff. I forgot so much stuff that we did over the years. Me and Dorian. Look, I didn't mention this before, but when I did 2015 was a rough time for me. I lost my best friend a month before I went to that tournament in 2015. That tournament was in May. My best friend died on April 23rd. 2015. And that was a really rough time for me. So I was still dealing with all that shit. And fucking Dorian was there for me, and it's just tough. The guy I went to the finals with in '94, John Nailot, right? Dude was my best friend for a lot of years. It was him and Dorian and somebody else named Rich that you guys don't know, but it was like my three best friends. But I hung out with John constantly. John lived in my house for months. We were constantly back and forth because he was closer to me than Dorian. Dorian was, like 20 minutes away. John was like, 5 minutes away.
A few blocks, yeah.
Right. So.
And I used to drive out. But when you moved to Ohio from New Jersey, John and I would drive out together to go visit Mike. So. Yeah.
So it's hard. It's hard getting over stuff like that too. It's. Man, I knew him for 20 plus years, and man, the thing I miss most is him coming in my stream and telling me how much I suck. So just stuff like that. He'd call me up at lunch every day, and it would just be like, "What's up, asshole?" Not much, fuckhead.
Yep.
That's us. And then we just sit there and talk about games. That was us, and it was never anything like there was no drama. He wouldn't talk about family shit or anything like that. It was like movies, games, music. Mm-hmm. That was it for 22 years, and I missed that. So when I did that 2015 thing, that was still really fresh.
Yeah,
in my mind, and it's rough.
He was a great guy.
He was. I'm fucking missing him immensely. It sucks.
Yep.
So I don't want to end on that note.
Yeah.
I don't want to end on. I don't want to end on the down note. Again, it was really cool doing this. Just getting to talk for like 2 hours now. Man.
Yeah. And there's going to be more. I'd love to have group stories with you and the other Jersey boys and.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah, at some point, I would love to figure out a way to get all of us back together, even if it's on some crazy 6-man Skype call. However we have to do it, I'd love to see like a Jersey Boys reunion call. That would just be so interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to find it interesting just to hear David's stories once, we have him on, because David and I lost contact for a good 15 years. So I'm curious to hear what, his perspective was on the Nintendo World Championships. He disappeared right after 94.
Yeah, so. I haven't talked to him since then.
Right.
The first time I talked to him was last month.
Yeah, that was kind of an amazing weekend. I was just kind of sitting back and letting you guys do your thing. And I kind of felt like a third wheel, but it's like, you know what? I'm just going to enjoy it, and you guys do your thing. And I had a great time just watching.
Yeah,
I didn't mention it to them, but the panel that I want to do, I'd like to get David to do it in Pittsburgh with me.
He came last year, so that's a possible. I mean, yeah.
I think he would go, and I'd like to do that with him, but it all depends on what comes out of it. If you have some influence there.
I have very little. I've been trying to even get money for my thing, and they're kind of. This isn't. They get all of their people from the pinball people. Like the video game part is just locals. So his marketing scheme is, he gets like the classic game room guy because he's local to Pittsburgh, and he gets a bunch of the pinball guys because they're already there. But the gaming stuff, they're not flying people in. Their budget is.
I don't care about that.
Yeah.
I'm less than 2 hours away.
Right.
If you go and you come up here and we can go together, that would work out.
I'm going to be there early because my friend is one of the managers of the console lounge, so I have to help.
Well, what's early? I mean, it's 4 days long as it is, right?
I get there like Monday. Yeah, so I'm like there setting up CRT TVs and shit up and down the. If you've ever been there, they've got about 250 CRTs taking up this entire convention center, which is larger than the convention center in Portland. Because it's kind of the reverse of Portland, whereas the arcade takes up most of the space and the vendor space is pretty small. So they bring in arcades and pinballs and hundreds of console stations, and we have to set all that up and test them before they go. And that's what I'm doing the first 2 days.
A little bit more then.
But we can, getting a panel if you make the trip and, find a place to stay or whatever else, like, I'm sure the passes will come free and the panel time will come free.
He said at the very least we'll give you passes.
Yeah, so that's $100 right there. So that's that's a start. So, and I run the Dr. Mario tournament. If you come in and beat Packy at that'd be amazing too. So, I
don't think I'm so out of practice on that.
Plus, he was never even like as good as me at Dr. Mario anyway. So
there we go.
Except that he actually didn't know how to play Dr. Mario, which was his problem. Go ahead, Dorian. Go ahead, Dorian.
I think I remember some matches in Tetris versus Dr. Mario where you had to admit that I was dominating.
Please tell me how you were playing Dr. Mario before 2015.
Speed. I was playing before 2015.
Do you have any idea how to get score in Dr. Mario before 2015?
Did I know how? Yes. Did I actually ever bother to do it? No, because all that I cared about was getting to level 24.
I remember telling him and starting to teach him how to actually play Dr. Mario for the tournament. Mm-hmm. So,
yep. Yeah, absolutely. Like, it was basically, okay, so what do you have to do in Dr. Mario? You have to go for score. Crap. So I got to set up combos. Yes. This wasn't how I played Dr. Mario.
It's a whole different game.
Yeah. And in 1991, when it was a score competition for Dr. Mario, as we know from our previous episodes, Steve Lucas just skipped the Dr. Mario part and just spammed Mario 3 to win that tournament. So even when it was an official competition, people were not doing it then. So it was amazing how 25 years later they completely reinvent a game to play a way that almost nobody had played before. But
right.
Well, there was no pinbot in it anymore either. They took pinbot out of it.
Yep.
Right.
Because
that was the original.
Yep.
Yeah, they did Mario 1, Mario 3. So I'm sure that had more to do with licensing than anything else.
Oh yeah. They just kept what they had, and the pinbot thing was if you knew the skill shot, that took you 6 seconds, and then you'd be on to the next game anyway. But anywho, as they say, super amazing. I want to talk to you again. We'll do more panels, and let's keep this podcast going and the relationships going and more stories. And this has been a good start. This isn't even close to the end of what we're doing here, so.
It should be the end. I should be the last one.
Yeah, right.
Best for last.
Mm-hmm. At the moment, yes, so, absolutely.
Yep.
Next week, Bob Whiteman.
Right. Oh, we got D-Lo, we got Bob Whiteman. Yeah,
D-Lo's coming. There's quite a few coming.
I want some people who weren't necessarily competitors. I mean, Howard Phillips would be an amazing guest. So it's the sky's the limit on this damn thing. So keep in touch, and I will see both of you in the future, and hopefully all of you will see all of us.
Good guy. We need a guy.